بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear sisters, my dear sons and daughters, welcome back to a new episode of the Mothers of Believers lessons. Last time we mentioned a lot of the virtues and characters of our mothers, and we mentioned the ayat concerning them in the Quran and why they deserve to be our mothers and the wives of the prophets, and why they deserve to be our role model. We took a general overview about their characters, but from today, inshallah, we're going to start by the first wife for the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, السيدة Khadijah bint Khuwaylid. السيدة Khadijah bint Khuwaylid, the first wife of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Who is السيدة Khadijah? Who is السيدة Khadijah bint Khuwaylid radiyallahu anha? السيدة Khadijah from Banu Asad branch of Quraysh tribe, whose ancestry joins that of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam in the ancestors. Her family, her father was Khuwaylid ibn Asad ibn Abdul Uzza ibn Qusay ibn Kilab. And this is the common ancestors between Sayyidah Khadijah and Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam in his grandfather in Qusay. This is the common ancestors between them, the Qusay ibn Kilab. Her father died in a battle, this battle called Al-Fijar, in the Battle of Fijar. Her mother was Fatima bint Zaydatul Asam. Fatima bint Zaydatul Asam, and Lady Khadijah radiallahu anha was born in Mecca in the year 556 CE. What was her title? Her title before marrying the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, she was called At-Tahira. At-Tahira. At-Tahira in English means the pure woman, the pure woman. She remained pure despite of the loathsome practices in the era of ignorance and the disgraceful treatment displayed towards women at that time. She was also known as Al-Afifa, Al-Afifa, the chaste woman, Al-Afifa, or the chaste woman. So her title was Al-Tahira Al-Afifa, Al-Tahira Al-Afifa. She never worshipped idols, even before marrying to the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Being known as Al-Tahira, as we mentioned, and Al-Afifa, it was like that is a preparatory period for her to become the beloved wife of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. At that time, remember when we mentioned in the seerah, his name was As-Sadiq Al-Amin. As-Sadiq Al-Amin, the truth teller, the trustworthy. As if Al-Tahira Al-Afifa will marry As-Sadiq Al-Amin, the truth teller, the trustworthy. Sayyida Khadijah radiallahu anha, she had a spiritually and physically pure nature that would be a beautiful accompany to the beloved messenger of Allah Almighty. before meeting Prophet Muhammad. Now we're going to go through her life before meeting Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Lady Khadijah, actually, as we mentioned about her family, it was a well-known family and it was a well-respected family, and she's been the pure woman, as we mentioned, and had a good reputation and honor in Quraysh at that time. She was married twice before she met the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. She had a son named Hind from her first husband. Her first husband called Abu Hala ibn Zurara. Abu Hala ibn Zurara. This is her first husband, and she had from him a son. And after the death of her husband, she married another man. His name was Atiq ibn Ubayd. Atiq ibn Ubayd, and she had a daughter named Hind also. So she has a son and a daughter from her previous two marriage before marrying to the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Because of her lineage, beauty, and wealth, after the death of her second husband, some of the dignitaries of the Quraysh wanted to marry her. Actually, she had a lot of proposals from the leaders of Quraysh who wished and who wanted to marry Sayyida Khadijah radiallahu anha. But actually, she refused all these offers. She refused all these offers. Why she refused these offers? That's what we're going to know, inshallah. Now we're going to know about what was her business. Um, Usually, when we are speaking about the working and the job of women in Islam, we have a lot of examples from of the Muslim women that used to work and to have their own business. Usually we mention Lady Khadijah radiallahu anha. Lady Khadijah, she was a businesswoman actually. She was a businesswoman and inherited the wealth from her previous two marriage, as we mentioned. And so she started to invest these wealth in trading, because as we mentioned in the seerah before, that Quraysh, the main source of economy at that time was trading through two main journeys that occurred during winter and during summer. We mentioned during winter there was the journey to Yemen, and during summer the journey to Sham. So those who are very having the business in Quraysh related to the merchants and the people who have the caravans or the trading caravans. So she started to invest her money in this way, but she was unable to travel with the caravans, and she couldn't make enough money on her investment. Why? Everyone to whom she entrusted her caravan and assets stole goods from her, and she was in actually, even there was no much profit. He may take the goods to Sham or to Yemen, wherever the journey, and she was waiting for the profit from these goods, and all the managers that she used, they were opportunistic. They were not honest, degree of honesty that they stole her goods and her profit, and she was suffering actually. And in another way, she was in need of someone who is honest and trustworthy. And from here, we can feel the beginning of the relation and the beginning of knowing the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. She was in desperate need of finding someone to manage her caravan. And then she started to ask her friends, ask the people around her, do you know anyone who is really trustworthy and he's really he can help me in taking care of my trading caravans? And most of, or maybe all of her, the answers came to her from the friends, from the family, all of them centered on the same person, the Sadiq al-Amin, the truth teller, the trustworthy Muhammad al-Amin. This was his title. They mentioned his name to her and they told her he's the best man that suits the job you want. For the first time, she handed over her entire caravan to the Prophet ﷺ. She also charged her slave Maysara to travel with him and to observe all his actions. And actually, we can feel from this feeling how much she was intelligent, how much she was not an ordinary woman. She was really a businesswoman. She chose the right person because of how the people consulted. The consultation for her came to choose Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But at the same time, she wanted another witness to see what's happening, what he's doing, what is the way he is treating others during this business journey. And that's why she assigned her slave Maysara to follow him and to observe him, to know the way he is dealing and communicating with the people. And was very intelligent and smart action from Lady Khadijah radiallahu anha. Then actually Maysara came and told her at the end of the journey, after they returned back, he started to tell her what the extraordinary events that happened or witnessed during his journey with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. He told her that someone came to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to buy something. When they disagreed about the price, the man said, then swear by Lat and Uzza. Lat and Uzza were idols, were very famous idols in Quraysh, in Mecca at that time. Any person coming from Quraysh, when he wants to make an oath, he will swear by a Lat wal Uzza. So when this man told the Prophet ﷺ to swear by Lat and Uzza, the Prophet replied, I have never sworn an oath on them. Remember, this was before prophethood. What we are speaking now to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he's still before prophethood and still before knowing that he will become a prophet. Another event happened and being told by the slave of Lady Khadijah, he told her that a cloud was giving them shade wherever they went. The cloud moved with them when they stopped, and the cloud stopped too. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was moving with the caravan, there was a, of course, that when we are speaking about the trading caravan during the journey way, we are speaking about desert. We are speaking about desert. Desert between now, if we're going to mention now, it's between the Arab Peninsula and the Yemen, or the Arab Peninsula and Sham. All the way is desert. It's hot weather, and all of it desert. Sometimes it's sandy storm, we can say, very hot. The sun is always present, so the shade is something which is very appreciated for the Arab during their journey. If you have shade, this is something with advantage. So he told her that usually during what happened during the journey, there was always a shade by this cloud that wherever the Prophet is walking, in this cloud is covering and is shading him. Finally, the caravan that was led by the Prophet ﷺ returned to Mecca for the first time. This expedition brought back a surplus profit for the lady Khadijah radiallahu anha. And this was the first time there was the trading journey ended successfully with a surplus profit. And she was very happy actually. Maysara accounted all that he had seen to her as he talked about the nobility, the honesty, the virtue, and other outstanding qualities of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The heart of the chaste and modest Khadijah al-Tahira al-Afifa started to feel an attraction towards the Prophet ﷺ. And this is something normal. As we mentioned, she was looking for this character. She was looking for the truth teller, the trustworthy, and that's why she refused all the offers of the noble men from Quraysh leaders that they proposed to her, because she couldn't find those important two characters in them. And when she felt that these characters in the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, she started to feel that the what she's been looking for, finally she found it. After obtaining a good deal of information about the Prophet ﷺ, started to have a lot of information from her slave, as we mentioned, Maysara, and from other people here and there. She started to hear about him, how he's behaving, how he's known in Quraysh, how is his attitude, his behavior. Again, this is very important remark for the intelligent woman. When you are looking for someone to be your future husband, it's very important to collect information about him. It's even if you are hearing about his attitude or his behavior, but you have to make a very meticulous, detailed information about his day-to-day activity, his day-to-day communication with the people, and how he is treating others. And this is what Lady Khadijah actually did. And after she collected all this information, and with the experience she had with her slave Maysara, that told her about the characters and virtue of the Prophet during the business journey, she started to speak to her friend. She had her friend called Nafisa, her best friend. She started to tell her about her feelings towards the Prophet ﷺ, and how she found her request of the man she wishes to marry at last. What she was always looking for, she thinks that she finally found. And she couldn't tell any person except her best friend, Nafisa. Nafisa was really her best friend, because she wanted to help her friend to help her to can achieve her aim and achieve her goal by acting as a mediator or acting as a catalyst in the middle between this action. And how Nafisa actually, even in the seerah, when we're going to read the seerah, will not find Nafisa, this lady radiallahu anha, we didn't find any other story related to her except this story, that she was like a liaison or a mediator in the story of marrying Sayyida Khadijah radiallahu anha to the Prophet. So Nafisa was very positive, was very intelligent, of course, because Lady Khadijah, when she will have her best friend, she should be like her, because the smart people attracted together. You will not find two different characters best friends. If you have your best friend, you will find many characters in common between you. So she was very smart, Nafisa. She went immediately to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and requested his permission to ask him a very personal question. When he said he had no objection, she asked, "Why hadn't you yet got married?" So she asked him a personal question. She told him, "Why you are not marrying up till now?" He was 25 years at that time, 25 years old, the Prophet ﷺ. He said he didn't have the financial resources important or essential for marriage, or the things for marriage is still not yet with him, the financial support. Then she asked him if he would be willing to marry a beautiful lady from a noble and wealthy family who was inclined towards marriage with him. He asked whom she was referring to. When he learned her identity, he said that he was willing, provided she was willing to marry him. So he told her first, "Who is this lady?" And Nafisa told him, "She is Khadijah and she's willing to marry you." And he was accepting, of course, that. And of course, when Nafisa returned back to her friend Khadijah and told her about that, Sayyidah Khadijah radiallahu anha was very overjoyed. And the Prophet ﷺ at that time was 25 years old, and Khadijah was 40 years old. The two uncles of the Prophet, Hamza and Abu Talib, approached her uncle Umar ibn Asad. So they went after the Prophet ﷺ knew from Nafisa. He asked his two uncles, Hamza and Abu Talib, to approach the uncle of Lady Khadijah radiallahu anha with a formal proposal, and it was accepted, and the date was fixed. On the date that had been fixed, the families and friends gathered and the marriage was solemnized. Abu Talib slaughtered a camel for the marriage to make a marriage banquet, which all the people come, the friends and the family, during this celebration, to feed the dignitaries of the tribes and the family and friends. And of course, Lady Khadijah was very happy, and she had a very look and very nice wedding dress at that time. And she was happy with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. They, following the wedding ceremony, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, soon to be the Prophet of Islam, moved into Lady Khadijah's house. This house became the heart of pleasant tranquility, so much so that the marriage of the Prophet ﷺ and Lady Khadijah has been known as an example of the happiness throughout history. It was, as we're going to mention, like the marriage between the moon and the sun, the al-tahira al-afifa, the pure and the chaste woman, with as-sadiq al-amin, the truth teller, the trustworthy. Sayyida Khadijah radiallahu anha was very blessed in this marriage and actually she had 6 children. She had 6 children from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The first 2 sons, Qasim, Al-Qasim and Abdullah, then followed by the daughters Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, Fatima al-Zahra, radiallahu anhum. These was the 6 children she brought for the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. 2 sons and 4 daughters. 2 sons and 4 daughters. The name of the sons, Al-Qasim, Abdullah. The name of the daughters, Zainab, Ruqayyah, Kulthum, Fatima al-Zahra, radiallahu anhum jami'an. They were wonderful, intelligent children, and it was very happy, peaceful, and content household. Now remember that Lady Khadijah radiallahu anha, she has 2 previous children from her 2 previous marriage. She has 2 children, a son and a daughter. And in addition to them, Ali, the son of Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet, was present also with them. He was still child at that time, and the Prophet ﷺ wanted to take Ali to live with him in his new house, that in a trial to actually to compensate or to show the gratefulness to his uncle who already took him while he was still a child and look after him. We mentioned that Abu Talib in the Sirah that he has a lot of children. So the Prophet ﷺ wanted to take Ali to live and to be raised in his house. Also, we have Zayd ibn Haritha was a child in this house. And Zayd, his freed slave originally presented to him by Khadijah, were also members of the blessed household. He was a servant and being taken, presented as gift from Lady Khadijah to the Prophet. So he freed this slave, Zayd, and treated him as his son, to the degree that even the Prophet gave his name to Zayd, and people were knowing Zayd as Zayd ibn Muhammad until the ayat came in Surah Al-Ahzab, which abrogated this rule and hukum and mentioned that only the son should belong to his biological father and not to the adopted one. So what I want to say now, that this house, being with the Lady Khadijah and the Prophet ﷺ, how many children in this house? If we say 6 children of the Prophet and Sayyidah Khadijah, and 2 other from previous marriage of Sayyidah Khadijah, so they are 8, and then Ali 9, and then Zayd 10. You can imagine the house, 10 children in the house, the Lady Khadijah and the Prophet. How much this house will be noisy, and all the children coming, running here and there, and who is taking care of those children, and who is taking care of the Prophet also. All this took care by the loving wife and the loving mother. Sayyidah Khadijah was exceedingly cautious not to do anything that would upset the Prophet ﷺ, and seized any opportunities to please him. She was always supporting and she was always trying to do her best to please the Prophet ﷺ. She served all the needs of him and the children, and she did all that personally. She disliked employing her servants to this purpose. One day, the Prophet ﷺ, also, we can see how much she is doing efforts and how much she's sacrificing by her efforts, by her time for the sake of her children and for Ali and for Zayd and for the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. How many seconds she's and minutes she's giving her love, her care for all the household. Not that only, she was very sensitive and she was very intelligent, as we mentioned. One of the things that you could have the love of your husband, and this is one of the secrets that Lady Khadijah is telling us or is teaching us actually, is to take care about the persons and people that your husband is liking or taking care of. If you are taking care of such people and present them with a good attitude and a good behavior, he will like you more, he will love you more. And this is what happened with Lady Khadijah, as all of us know Halima. Halima Sa'diyah. Who knows Halima Sa'diyah? Anyone knows can write to me, please, on the chat room. Send me message now. Who is Halima? Who knows Halima Sa'diyah? Remember what we mentioned about Halima in the Sirah, those who attended with me as Sirah. Yes, Mona. Yes, Ali. Yes, the nursing mom, the nursing mom of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, the one who nursed him. Yes, Sister Zabeda. Yes, the nurse of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So she was the one who took care of him during the very, very early years of his life. Remember when we mentioned that the first 4 years was with Halima, actually. The first 4 years of the Prophet. Yes, Angie, excellent. The one who breastfed the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. And he liked her so much. She was considered to be the first raising mom for him. And this is to show the loyalty of the Prophet ﷺ towards his nursing mom. Lady Khadijah was very intelligent, very smart to see that and to observe that. So one day the Prophet wet nurse Halima came to their house. It was a time when everyone was suffering due to a severe drought, and she had come to explain her plight. Lady Khadijah radiallahu anha presented her with 40 sheep and a camel. Look the present here. Look the gift, how much the gift is very expensive. You are talking about 40 sheep and a camel. Up till now, actually, it is very expensive gift. If someone give you a gift like that, it's considered to be a considerable amount of money. So she gifted her with that, and hence by pleasing his the nurse of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, the nursing mother, she was in fact pleasing the heart of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. He was very happy by what she did to his nursing mother. And what I want to say, all these behavior and all these attitude done by Lady Khadijah during her life with the Prophet ﷺ as a wife for him, made him love her so much, loved her so much. And after that, when she died and when he married Lady Aisha after her, as we're going to have, he was talking most of the time about her, even after she died. And that made Lady Aisha to become jealous from her, actually. And all the time he was telling her virtues and her characters. And moreover, he mentioned to Lady Aisha that her love was like a sustenance for me. Her love was like a sustenance for me. رُزِقْتُ. إنما رزقت حبها. رزقت حبها means that I live with her love. I live with her love. So he couldn't forget her even if she passed away. That's why when we saying that is this is a true love story, when we are talking about the love story, and if you want to have an example of this, you will not have a much striking example like the example of Sayyida Khadijah radiallahu anha and the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and how by her smart and by her intelligence and by her honest feelings, how she owned the heart of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. What about him? Now we are speaking about her. What about him? The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam was devoted to Khadijah radiallahu anha, though he was much younger. As we mentioned, he was 25 years and she was 40. In spite of the fact that the social norms favored polygamy and he possessed the means for it, he was content with his wife and didn't seek to marry anyone younger. To the contrary, he had devoted himself to the worship of Allah and to conveying his message, and this while he was at the peak of his youth and strength. He and his wife lived as soulmates and confidants on the same path. The Prophet ﷺ is an exemplar of love and caring, irrespective of physical and spiritual circumstances. He won the heart of his wife with his high morals and consummate deed. In this connection, he said in the hadith Sahih, the Prophet mentioned, the most righteous among you are the ones who treat their families in the best way. Alayhi salatu wassalam. He mentioned this hadith actually is a very important hadith, that the Prophet mentioned those who are righteous really, that they are the best for their wives and the best for their families. Because if you want really to know the real personality of the person, you have to ask his wife, to ask his children, how he behave with you in his house, in his home. Because actually in the home or in the house, you cannot conceal anything. You cannot hide your real behavior. Everything will be exposed to your wife or to your husband. So if you see a righteous man or a righteous woman, so if you want to be sure about the degree of this righteousness, ask the family, ask the wife or the husband, ask the children how he is treating, how he is doing. Is he saying what he's doing actually practically what he's saying, or what he's just saying outside with the people is something which is completely different inside the home. That's why this hadith is very important in telling people don't have double personality. Don't have double personality. If you're going to treat people in a way, in a kind way, in a handsome way, in a decent way, please continue this decency and kindness and humbleness in your house with your family. Don't pretend to be the best of the people outside your house, but unfortunately inside the house you have the other personality, not that being showed off by the people. So that what we can know here, or what we can learn, that the Prophet ﷺ was the best example for the leader outside, leading the ummah, leading the Muslims, and the best husband inside his house with his family, with his wife, and with his children. Now we'll come to the supporting wife. The Prophet ﷺ will approach the years and the days is passing, and before the starting of the prophethood, and with the start of revelation and start of Jibril comings and visits to the prophets, what will happen? and how the supporting wife role will come, and how to Lady Khadijah radiallahu anha will keep all the time in support with her husband, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. This is what going to know inshallah next time. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك الله بحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.